Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just talked about some of the changes coming to college football just to get you updated before all the new changes happen. It feels like this week and the following weeks are going to be quite the news storm in college football, whether that's playoff changes or conference changes or conferences going off and being their own entity. There are tons of things that could be happening over the next couple of weeks. So wanted to take a second and get everyone updated of where we sit right this second. But now it's time to talk to some recruiting. The 2025 cycle, as we talked about yesterday on the offensive side of the ball, is full of just incredible players, and that is no different on the defense. But before we jump into the defense, I do want to update a little thing from the offensive side yesterday. DeCorian Moore, we talked about yesterday, a remarkable athlete that's the number one wide receiver in the country, currently committed to LSU. He has narrowed down his teams to 4 teams that he is going to be communicating with going forward in his recruitment. Those teams are Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, and obviously LSU, the team that he's committed to. This was something that I touched on, that these teams could be the teams to watch, but he has made it official that those are the only teams you need to watch, it seems, for DeCorian Moore going forward. So very interesting development there. But let's jump into some of the defensive guys, because there are a lot of remarkable players in this group, and if you can imagine it, Georgia is off to a great start recruiting defensive talent, and it starts with the interior defensive line. Top 2 guys seem to be heading to Athens, Georgia. Elijah Griffin from Savannah has a crystal ball to the Bulldogs, and Justice Turney from Manchester, Georgia, is committed to Georgia. So a lot of great things happening for the Bulldogs in the interior defensive line. Was a position of worry last year, so back to recruiting at the highest possible level at that position can only help Kirby Smart and his staff going forward to get that identity back on the interior of that defensive line. 2 other guys in the top 10 that are committed are Isaiah Campbell and Amari Adams. They are both making their way up to Clemson, South Carolina in the fall, it looks like. Both incredibly talented, number 5 and 7 in the country, and they're going to be absolute game wreckers for Clemson, who, again, another team that has absolutely dominated the interior defensive line, whether it was Brian Brzee or Tyler Davis coming out this year. Just remarkable athletes coming through Clemson, and they just keep getting richer in that position. A couple other top 10 guys to keep your eye on. Auburn has Malik Audrey, who had a very interesting thing that I came across yesterday. I was using 24/7 for all of this. Usually they're composite rankings, but Malik Autry is number 4 according to just 24/7, but then all the way down at 22 when you factor in the entire composite. So it'll be interesting to see, was 24/7 right about him? Was Rivals? Was ESPN? Was On3? Who knows? But it'll be very interesting to see who he is at the next level. He is currently committed to Auburn, so a huge pickup for them if 24/7 is right. A huge pickup regardless, but obviously having the number 4 guy in the country is a little bit different than number 22. But other guys in the top 10 that are committed, this is back to composite rankings. Florida at number 9 overall, they have Jalen Wiggins committed, and then Texas has a commitment from Lance Jackson, who is sitting at number 8 in the interior defensive lineman class. A ton of really, really talented guys, a ton of guys that are not committed and don't have any crystal balls, so a ton to watch at that position. But that is the early idea of where the top guys are going. And let's jump over to edge. And can you guess who has the number 1 edge rusher in this class? It is none other than the Florida State Seminoles, and it makes total sense with someone like Jared Verse coming out the last couple of years and being the player he was. I can't argue with that decision at all. So makes total sense there. Clemson, Ohio State, and Auburn all have top 10 guys committed at that position. A ton of uncommitted talent. UGA, Bama, every team in college football will be fighting over. But for right now, there are some teams that are setting the pace. And obviously, it's Florida State, Clemson, Ohio State, and Auburn. all having commitments from top 10 edge rushers at this time is huge, just because if you can't rush the passer, you're going to have a very, very hard time. Obviously, for this D-line class, the interior defensive line is a little bit stronger than the edge rushers, but plenty of talent on either side, so cannot wait to see what all of these guys do at the next level and what they do throughout the rest of their recruitment, because as we know, nothing is set in stone right now. But let's jump over to linebacker here. The top linebacker in the country, Jonah Williams out of Galveston, Texas, is crystal ball to Oklahoma. Makes total sense. Brent Venables has been just incredible at developing linebacker talent for as long as I can remember. So makes total sense that he would want to join him there. There will be plenty of challengers for this kid because he is an absolute game changer. But right now, Oklahoma seems to be in the driver's seat for that one. Only one other top 10 guy is committed, and it's number 10, Jaden Perloit, who is committed to UGA. UGA just rakes in linebackers. There's no two ways about that. Having guys like Roquan Smith and even a guy right now in CJ Allen gives you a little bit of a leg up in recruiting, I won't lie. And then Texas, Florida State, and Florida all have crystal balls to top 10 guys. Bama and Florida State are fighting over the number 3 guy in the country at this position, Daryl Johnson. So tons to still watch at this position, tons to keep track of. And as we know, if you have an elite inside linebacker and an elite middle linebacker to kind of set the pace and be the communicator with helmet comms coming into play, it makes all the difference for your defense and for your team. But let's go to the back end of the defense, why don't we? Because this is where Ohio State has started to flex their muscles a little bit in the recruiting game, at least early on. They have the top two corners in the class, Devin Sanchez and Naheem Offord, committed to Ohio State, with a crystal ball from number 4 overall, Dorian Brew. I've heard some murmurs of Texas possibly making a push for Dorian Brew over recent weeks, but we'll see. And just for fun, they also have the number 8 cornerback, Blake Woodby, committed to them. So Tim Walton is doing just incredible work as a recruiter. That's why he is the number 1 recruiter in the country, according to 24/7 right now. And then just a mini shout out to Purdue for getting a top 10 guy at corner in Terrion Grant. If they can keep him committed, that is a huge pickup for the Boilermakers. And then LSU has a top 10 guy, and Jabori Antoine, I apologize if I butchered that name, but all very talented guys. But right now, it's Ohio State and everyone else at the cornerback position for sure. And safety is really no different. The top guy, Trey McNutt, is undecided and has no crystal balls currently on the 24/7 website, but is from Cleveland, is from like Shaker Heights high school area, so would not be surprised if Ohio State had all of the claim here. Will be definitely heard from in that recruitment, but it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. Ohio State is the leader in the clubhouse for the number 2 guy, though, Fahim Deline, a very, very talented guy that a ton of teams are pushing for, including some of the teams from his hometown state in Texas, but still a guy that seems to be trending towards Ohio State, and Tim Walton just keeps doing his thing, which is just remarkable. But Notre Dame and UCF actually have top 10 commits. Ivan Taylor for Notre Dame and Kendarius Riddick committed to UCF right now. Obviously, UCF is going to have to fight tooth and nail to keep that guy there, but they've done a really good job recruiting since Gus Malzahn has taken over, so I would not be surprised if he actually ended up making his way down to Orlando. Tons of guys at the safety position are totally wide open. There are only 2 of the top 13 committed right now, and only 3 of the top 26 guys committed, so there is a ton of open doors for teams to get in. Obviously, Trey McNutt is where all of this starts. He's the number 1 guy, the guy that will be getting calls from everywhere in the country to try to get his services, and I'm sure Ohio State will be in that group, but if they can get Fahim Deline, maybe they will back off Trey McNutt a little bit, and we'll see what happens there. But tons to keep track of in this defensive class. Elijah Griffin is an absolute game changer. Jonah Williams at linebacker is just remarkable in every sense of the word. And then you have guys like Devin Sanchez at corner, who, when he was a sophomore in high school, was a starter for one of the best teams in the country in North Shore and is an absolute beast. So a lot to like about this defensive class. So many guys that still have decisions to make, and we will definitely keep you posted on all of the happenings there. But it's always good to know the names while we go into these crazy point of time in recruiting that is coming up. But for now, we're going to take our final break, and when we come back, we're going to do a top 10 Tuesday. Today, we're going to go into head coaches. As I see it, the top 10, I've seen a lot of people do this, and I haven't seen one that is similar to another. So I'm sure mine will be a little bit different than everyone else's, but feel free to drop yours in the comments or tell me that I am wrong, tell me I'm stupid. I don't really care. It's all fair game in Top 10 Tuesday. So stick around and we will be right back with that.